Let's get more now on the diplomatic tensions over the military campaign in Libya. Marco Vicenzino is director of the Global Strategy Project, which is based in Washington and analyses foreign and security policies in our central London studio. Good afternoon to you, Marco. Look, there are divisions certainly emerging, definitely tensions. When you look at the UN resolution, analysts have said, look, it's deliberately vague to allow the implementation of that famous UN phrase, use of all measures necessary. But is that vagueness to blame for these tensions, perhaps?
No, I would think the blame for the tension lies with many of the heads of certain countries that are leading this mission. I mean, on the one hand, we have a very ambitious and also hyperactive French president. To his credit, he led this entire initiative. And on the other hand, we have a reluctant American president. And when you have a reluctant American president, that creates a void and a vacuum which others want to fill. In this case, President Sarkozy has taken the initiative. And I think part of it, there's not all of it, but part of it has to do with this, is the fact that ambiguity, lack of clarity on the American side is making other partners wonder whether or not it can be a long-term reliable partner in this mission. And the president's rhetoric until now has not particularly helped.
And also that vagueness, though, just to argue my point, could take things further beyond a no-fly zone. What America's always been nervous about is being dragged into another war in its third Islamic country.
It's not another American war in another Islamic country. This is an international operation, an international effort. We've seen in the last few weeks approval from the Arab League for a no-fly zone, the United Nations Security Council. So to try to paint it as an American operation, I think is wrong and it's misleading. We have to keep it in context that it's an international operation. Once again, to protect civilians, but also when you say protect civilians, implied in that is you also have to confront the threat that is threatening those civilians, and in this case, Colonel Gaddafi. So I would say the big debate is, some people are saying, was Gaddafi, is he a target or not, or are we there to protect the civilians? You cannot divide the two. It's implied, when you protect civilians, you have to also take care of the source that's threatening those civilians.
What about the end game? If there's a plan for it, it's certainly not been talked about, but it is being speculated. Obviously, they would like the rebels to march on to Tripoli and for those loyal to Gaddafi to persuade him to stand down. There's a whole host of options, but there doesn't seem to be a firm plan in place other than it's up to the Libyan people.
It's an extraordinary fluid situation on the ground. In my opinion, the fact that there was such delay in mounting this operation has further complicated it. Now, I just don't want to just put the blame on President Obama himself, but I think the fact that there was so much delay in the weeks leading up to the action, it seems like at first nothing wanted to be done. Now they're doing quite a bit, but without having thought it through. So the difficulty, the effectiveness of the no-fly zone, the effectiveness of the UN resolution will be obviously impacted by the delay and the amount of time that it took to reach that actual decision.
Do you think there is a danger on relying too much on the rebel forces in Libya? We don't know an awful lot about them. What we do know, having spoken to them, some of our correspondents have spoken to them, is a lot of them are civilians. Some of them musicians that have picked up a gun or an arms. There's an awful lot counting on them, isn't there?
Yes, I mean, it was a popular uprising. It was just people after 42 years of oppression were finally tired, and it was an uprising based upon what they saw happening in other countries in the region. It's going to be a cross-section of former regime officials, ordinary members of society. You also have religious elements also. So I wouldn't say it's one particular group, one monolithic rebel group. It's a cross-section of Libyan society, and it's a society that's not had opportunity to organize itself politically during those 42 years of oppression.
Mr. Vicenzino, many thanks for speaking to us this evening.